Hey guys, ThunderClan Gaming here, bringing you the new patch notes. So after around 2.5 months of waiting, nearly 3 months actually, Come to Us finally decided that they would push out the balance patch. And in this patch, we have some of our Nat 5s that no one's think no one liked, and Come to Us decided to buff them. So without further ado, let's hop into it. The first one is the Fire Chimera. So before they did the last buff, so it was like 2-3 patches ago, Rakan's third damage only dealt damage and didn't do anything else. And then one of the patches they added a slow and a decreasing attack bar by 50%. And now they decided to revert it, but then they add a provoke for 1 turn. So pretty much what happens is you collapse and then you can provoke the target, and then if the opponent hits you, you have a 30% chance to like kind of a revenge, but with a collapse skill instead of your first skill. So pretty much 30% is like 2 revenge sets, and I do think that this is a pretty decent change for him. I do think that he'll be a bit stronger on Guild War defense, but I don't think he'll be that good on arena defense, because in order for the chance to proc, you need the skill to be on cooldown. So Rakan has to use that skill first, but if on AD, there's a chance that he would die before he can make use of his collapse skill. So in my opinion, Guild War defense a lot stronger, and of course offense wise you would be stronger as well. Next up is Laika. So I always use Laika, and I never really hated him, despite a lot of people not liking him. He dealt very decent damage, very good damage, and on a 2-turn cooldown. However, people didn't like his resistance while awakening, as well as his passive, as it was way too unreliable and needed accuracy to work. So this one pretty much they added so that whenever an opponent attacks you, you would counter attack, and the damage is proportionate to your attack, and there's a 50% chance to stun the opponent for 1 turn. So basically, in my opinion, this is also a very decent change. That pretty much seals a deal on the Bruiser Laika theory, and I'm pretty sure the best way to build him is Vamp now, because if he does damage with a counter attack, then he gets back HP, right? So Vamp is probably the way to go. Attack, crit damage, HP. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and I hope it works. Next up is a Wind Panda. Okay, so we haven't had a nerf in a very long time, so this one's the first nerf we've had in a very, very long time, unless you count the one on the Dark Polar Queen where her kit got completely changed. I don't really count that as one, so this is the first actual direct nerf. It's his passive, whenever he gets attacked, increases 30% attack bar, turned into 20%. I don't think that this will change that much. I feel like this is only a really minor nerf, and he's still very, very strong. I would still love to pull him, and I would instantly Devilmon him if I do pull him. Next up is the Wind Fairy King. So Wind Fairy King, he's now like a combination of Zyros, Varad, and Jamair. So he has a skill that can refresh a cooldown of 1 monster. He has a skill that decreases in all enemies' attack bar, and he has a skill that puts enemy to max cooldown. So yeah, he's very interesting. I feel like he's very, very good now. You can use him on offense, you can use him on defense, you can use him in a lot of places, because I feel like, let's say the opponent, it's like before the Varad freeze change, I think he's gonna be a very decent support, because he's very versatile. He can remove buffs, he does all the stuff that I just said, and the put target skill on max cooldown, ignores resistance. So as long as an enemy doesn't have immunity, you will always reduce it. So like Theomars can't resist, Paranok can't resist, they'll all just die. Next up is the Water Desert Queen. Okay, she first came out, she was labeled as a R5 monster. However, as time went on, the Fire Panda came out, so pretty much she was shunted to the side because I feel like the Fire Panda's kit is a lot more useful. Her third skill is completely useless back like before this change in raid, so it's kind of like just a self shield, and now it's kind of like an AoE shield and increase attack bar of everyone by 25%. And I'm not sure if the wording here is correct. It says it increases your attack bar for 3 turns. I feel like it increases everyone's, because why would you want to increase your own attack power when you are not a damage dealer? So the wording of these patch notes has never been exactly the most accurate. So we'll have to see at patch launch to see if it actually is the case. If it's actually the case that I think it is, then I think she'll be a pretty decent support for PvP, because a shield, attack bar buff, and attack buff all in one skill. Next up is for the Water and Light Sky Dancers. So the second skill that removes buffs with 50% chance, increases attack bar of, again, there's some ambiguity here. I'm not sure if the ally means all allies, or if it means the ally with the lowest attack bar, or if it means herself. But pretty much you increase attack bar for every beneficial effect removed. I don't think it affects anything pretty much, because I don't see people using Water or Light Sky Dancer in PvP, and there isn't many buffs in raid where there is actually 0 buffs in raid where the Water Sky Dancer is mostly used. So this is kind of useless in my opinion. I could be corrected, I'm not sure, but I feel like it's kind of useless, and my light one will stay in storage until she gets a further buff. So now we are at the Light Polar Queen. So Brutal Order's original usage is you pick one unit, and then it increases that unit's attack bar to full, and then you get a 2-turn cooldown reduction. However, now it decreases the cooldown of all allies by 2 turns, but I still think that you pick one target and that target gets full attack bar, and although the skill cooldown is increased to 7 turns instead of 6 turns, I still think this is a very, very strong buff. For example, in Guild Wars, if you have a Kali, you use the Light Polar Queen with her. Kali uses Tectonic Shift, Light Polar Queen uses Brutal Order, and then she can use Tectonic Shift again. So it's like a Jamayer kind of, or like a stronger Mauve, and you get a Resurge, something like that. I think she's in a pretty good spot now compared to before. Alright, next up is the Drunken Masters. So their first attack now ignore defense. I'm not sure about the multipliers and how it will affect the current situation. And it did say that they will modify the damage according to the ignore defense effect. So I feel like this is going to be a very interesting, I think it will be a buff, and we'll decide when the multipliers come out. Drunken Kick is increased damage. I think we'll skip all the increased damage because I don't think there's much to note of. So the water one additional effect increases attack bar of the ally. Again, I'm not sure if it's an ally or all the allies by 15%. If it is, this is a pretty okay buff as well. I don't see any other buffs for the water, so I'm gonna assume that she's pretty much the same as before. Fire 1, increased damage. Wind 1, increase your defense for 2 turns, turns into recovers HP of allies for 2 turns. This one, I think maybe he can be used in Wind Raid because it's pretty much another damage scaling heal. But then again, you can't land an armor break during the normal state. So I'm not sure if he's gonna do enough damage in the first place. So I take back what I said and I hold my opinion on this. I do not really know. The light one recovers HP by 50%, turns into recovers allies HP by 25% of the inflicted damage. So this is like an AoE heal again, but maybe these things can be used for the normal raid, but I'm not so sure. But looking at it again, I don't think you can use them for the elemental beasts because they do not get debuffed. Finally, the last one is increased damage, so we will skip that. Alright, so we are coming to one of another families, and this time it is the Barbarian Kings. So the Barbarian Kings, the first skill turns from 2 hit to 1 hit. I don't think there's any difference because before it's one dot for 1 turn, now it's 2 dots for 1 turn. So in total it's the same. The second one is Water Wind Light's Wrathful Attack, increased damage. We'll skip that. That's a branded one. I guess this is definitely a damage buff. And yeah. Next one is a Fire and Dark, Acts of Punishment. Okay, so this one was an AoE before, and it's stunned for 40% of the time, but now they turned it into a single target, and the chance to stun is increased to 80%. And they have an amp effect by recovering your HP by 30% of inflicted damage. So I feel like the dark and the fire one can be now ruined as bruisers instead of full YOLO, because they'll have some lifesteal on their own, so they just need to live, and then if they can use these skills, they will do a lot of damage and they will still get a lot of health back. So the water next up is Confiscate. So increase attack speed that increases when the skill is on cooldown. Okay, so all of the Barbarian King's third skill, whenever you use them and they're on cooldown, you gain attack speed and recover 10% of your HP per turn. And then pretty much all of them right now will get a speed, the attack speed increase will be increased further. So it's a buff to all of them. Next up is the Fire Barbarian King's Summary Conviction. So that's his third skill. This one, unfortunately speaking, I feel like is a nerf to him. I don't know why they want to nerf him, but I'll explain why. So first of all, now it hits 2 times, and the amount of damage you do is proportionate to the amount of missing HP the opponent has. So the less HP the opponent has out of his full max HP, the more damage you do. So what happened before this patch, even though hasn't launched yet, is that you hit the opponent once, so that drops the enemy to pretty low HP, and the second time can just finish him off. But now it's just 1 turn. So let's say you use it when the opponent is 100% HP. You're just gonna do that flat amount of damage. There is no increased damage after the first hit like before. So I feel like overall he will do less damage than before, and I consider that a nerf. Alright, next up they modified the Wind Barbarian King's third skill. So before you use 10% of your max HP and you grant 100% crit chance on the skill AoE. Now it's still an AoE, but it increases attack power and attack speed of, again here it says the ally. I'm assuming it's gonna be all allies for 2 turns, because the ally, it doesn't make sense if it's himself, because he already increases attack speed when this one is on cooldown. So yes, this might be an interesting change, because if it's as I think, then there's a chance that he can be built as a supporty damage dealer. Okay, so we only have the light and dark left. The dark one I'll skip because it's just increased damage on frenzy, and the light one is increased damage. Actually, never mind, both of these are just generic changes, and I will skip both of them. Bounty Hunter's Wind and Light increases 50% attack bar when successfully removing beneficial effect. Increase their attack by 50% of your attack. Okay, so basically now they don't. It doesn't matter if you remove the beneficial effect or not. If you do, you increase 50%. If you don't, you still increase 50% of your attack bar. Don't think it's much of a change. No one will really use them anyway. And next one is the water one. So Ready to Ambush is the same as Bernard's Tailwind. Now the cooldown is decreased by 1 turn. Okay, I don't think anyone would use him just because of this either. The Wind one also got a change. So okay, so pretty much now you attack random enemies instead of all enemies, and then before you recover your turn, so you can move again if an enemy is killed, but now you increase all allies attack bar by 25% after the attack. So the attack is now more random instead of attacking all enemies, but the you don't get restricted by killing the enemy. So now you increase attack bar of allies by 25% after. I still don't think he's good. Looking at both of his changes, he could have a lot of attack bar, but his base stats are just not good enough in my opinion, and I don't recommend building him. Dark one, yeah, the Dark Bounty Hunter got a -1 cooldown on the attack buff cleanse. This might be kind of useful for people who use him in the dark elemental beasts, because you have more attack buff uptime. Otherwise, not really. So the Water Monkey King, Light Monkey King, second skill got buffed, Cyclone got buffed, Hailstorm got buffed, Double Cyclone got buffed. Okay, so all of these just generic damage changes. Okay, so finally we are at the end of this thing, and it seems that the Pioneers got buffed. So first of all, their first skill chance to sleep increased from 15% to 20%. That's not that significant. Next up is a significant buff because of Water and Light 1 Pioneers. Their second skill, Mountain Power, now scales with only max HP. So after you use it, you heal your allies by an amount proportionate to your max HP. So I feel like I guess they are in a pretty good spot now. But wait, there's one more. The Water one, the Wish of Immortality skill gets 1 turn reduced cooldown. So it's now 5 turn cooldown with 3 turn uptime. That's pretty good. That's a lot better than Chloe's actually, except Chloe's uses invincibility and Pioneers as a shield. The Light Pioneer got... Okay, so he's pretty much the second AoE reviver that exists in this game now. I don't count the Light Pixie because she's unstable, but yeah, it's the Light Pioneer and Light Anubis. These two have AoE revive. This one revives with 30%, which is pretty decent. I think 30% AoE revive is a very decent amount, and I think people can use him in more situations. I don't have one myself, so I never tested him, but with his buff on first, second, and third skill, I feel like he can be put to use a lot more than in the current situation. And finally, we are on our last monster, the Dark Pioneer. So the third skill, basically what it did before is it steals 1 beneficial effect from all enemies, but now it steals everything. So I'm not sure if his buff removal goes first or if his damage goes first. If his damage goes first, he can kind of help in a cleave team as a stripper because he can do some decent damage. If the buff removal goes first, oh well, that's fine because it's still a buff removal, right? And you steal a lot of buffs, all buffs instead of just 1 buff like before, so he should be put to better use as well. The AI I will skip, and yeah, one more thing to mention is that the pumpkins got a animation increase, so their animation is a lot faster now, and I hope that with that I will see if I will build my chili and see if I can improve my dragon's team's clear speed. And yes, that's all we have for today. Next time we will be doing the water nat 3s. People have been giving me feedback on the good or food guide, and I will try my best to see if I can fulfill their wishes. And so yeah, that's all we have for today. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and bye bye.